Today's Shedhorn Sports is headed to Plains, Montana. We're going to visit with Dan Evans and see if he'll give us a peek at his trophy room. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Well, here we are at Trophy Taker. Let's go inside.
Here I am.
Hey, Dan.
Good to see you, Alan.
Thanks. Nice to be here. Thanks for having us, by the way.
You bet, no problem.
This obviously is your pro shop.
Right.
It's got all your products here. And
Yeah, it's a small shop, but not a very big area that we live in here as far as population goes. So it makes a nice thing for the local guys. They can pretty much set up everything they need here without traveling a long ways.
What we're really here for is to see your mounts. I've heard about your trophy room. I heard it's awesome, and we'd love to sneak a peek if we can.
Sure, no problem. I'm kind of an elk fanatic, and so my idea of a perfect trophy room is all elk. So yeah, come on in.
All right. Oh my. Wow, this is holy cow, this is impressive.
Well, thank you. Well, a lot of days in the field went into what you're seeing in the room here. Obviously, I actually shot my first bull with a bow in 1992. So it's been 21 seasons worth in here. All the bulls in this room I've taken with a bow except for one.
Give us a brief tour.
Okay. Well, when I hung the bulls in here, we actually just recently put all the bulls in one room here. For years I've wanted to do it, and just for whatever reason haven't been able to put it all together in one room. So we just got them herded in here within the last few months, and when I hung them on the wall I kind of tried to just put them in a way that I thought would fit well. Obviously the 3 racks on the top over here are recent kills that I'm still going to get mounted, and then starting from there down this wall I kind of put them up by size more than anything. So they're not really sorted by any other method than just grouping them a little bit by size. So these bulls, this was actually one of my first bulls that I killed. I had this bull here actually, well, I think it was in 93, I believe. And this bull grosses a little over 309 inches, I believe. This bull here was my first bull with a bow. That's the one I killed in 92, and that was in northern Idaho also. And then they kind of progress a little bit size-wise over the years, all the way down this main wall on this side. And then on this end down here, we started getting into some of the bigger bulls. Starting about here would be the first bull that actually is over 350. And the remaining bulls on this wall are between 350 and 370. The 2 pedestal mounts on the end here are a couple of my biggest bulls, and I've kind of left that end wall without any mounts hanging on it yet, with the idea that maybe I'll keep going at this. We'll see. But anyway, this bull on this pedestal mount is actually my biggest scoring bull. I shot that bull in 2005, and he grosses a little over 400 inches and officially nets 386 2/8. This bull over here is also a Boone and Crockett bull. He grossed about 390. And then as we go over to this wall, I just put some of my favorite mounts, and all the bulls on this wall are in the 350 to 380s class. So this bull down here in the corner is kind of a unique bull that I shot well, let's see, I think that was in 2008 actually. And he's very narrow, but has extremely long tines. So a really unique bull. He's a typical bull, scores as a typical bull, and has an official gross score of just under 382. But one of the more unique bulls I've taken. This bull, the next bull over, was actually the first really big bull I shot. And I was,
Really big bull.
yeah, he's a 380 gross bull, and I shot him in '97 down in New Mexico, and I was hunting by myself in an area I'd never seen before. And I can still remember that hunt vividly in my mind, of seeing that bull come out of the junipers across this big opening, and my first look at him. I had not seen very many really big bulls at that time, and when he walked out, it was just after sunup in the morning, and the sun hit him and he turned sideways, and you can see with those tine lengths and stuff, I can still remember my heart jumping into my throat and thinking, oh man, look at that thing. So needless to say, I was extremely excited when I got him on the ground. Well, you know, the interesting thing is, like I said, in '92 I shot my first bull in northern Idaho, which a lot of the viewers may have hunted in northern Idaho, and it's hard country, you know. There's a lot of elk, but it's extremely steep and brushy, thick alder brush. So it's challenging, and that's where I learned, basically. Sometimes I guess it's good to start off in really challenging country, because then anywhere you go, you can make good headway. But I only hunted the one state in Idaho for the first few years, from '92 through '96. Then in '97, I started hunting multiple states every year. So this year when I killed this bull was actually the first year that I hunted more than one state. And at that time I was not holding out for bulls this size. I got lucky, I mean, I'll admit it, you know, I found that bull, was able to kill him, and I would have shot a bull that was much smaller at that point. Since then, I've gotten to the point now where I hold out for bulls in a certain class. Depending on where I'm hunting, I try to look for what I think are the biggest bulls in that area. So, you know, trophy hunting is not always what it's cracked up to be. A lot of times you end up going home without anything and passing on bulls that you think later, maybe I would have been happy with that bull. But everybody just has to decide for themselves what they want to set as their goals and what's important. And my advice is, don't get too carried away with it too early. You know, if you haven't, don't let somebody else's standards be your standard. You know, enjoy hunting. Elk hunting is great, and you don't have to be trophy hunting to really enjoy. I remember when I was younger and starting out in elk hunting, I used to love to look at people's collections and tried to learn everywhere I could. And so it's nice to be able to share it, you know, where people can come in and see it. This bull right here was one of probably the luckiest hunt I've ever had. That was actually in New Mexico. I had drawn a tag in New Mexico 10 years ago. That was in 2003. And I had other hunts that I had tags for that overlapped. And so I didn't show up for that hunt until there was only 2 days left in the season. And I had hunted that unit before, so I kind of knew where I wanted to go, but still, showing up, the first place I went in to check, which was my #1 spot, there was a bunch of other hunters in there. And so I thought, oh man, you know, I'm gonna have to check some new country. My brother was with me on that hunt, and we ended up splitting up and looking over some area, and my brother had actually heard some bulls bugling after dark that night in a burned area. So the next morning, which was the first complete day that we were there, we went up there before daylight and parked the truck at the nearest road and started hiking into this burn. We only got about 20 minutes into our hike, and we could hear these two bulls bugling back and forth, and they both sounded like really small bulls. We snuck in on one of them and got close, and he was just a raghorn, and the other bull was coming through the thick stuff that had grown up in this burn. So we just sat and waited, never called or anything. And this bull came walking through, chased off the other bull, and then turned around and walked by and stopped 20 yards in front of me broadside with a hole through the brush. And my brother was running a video camera. We actually got that on video. And I made the shot. The bull was dead within a half an hour after the hunt started, really, for us.
Boy, they don't follow script like that very
No, and you don't see them like that very often. That one has matching sticker tines.
Yeah.
You know, he's about a 370 bull, gross score bull, and just a phenomenal hunt. That was one of those things that took me by surprise. I know how over the years, usually you got to work a lot harder than that, you know, to get especially a bigger bull. Well, I think research comes into play a lot there, you know, and in my opinion, the hunters that you see that are consistently the most successful hunters, they're always in the right place. It's just a matter of being there at the right time. You know, if you do enough research, you'll find places, good areas, not necessarily hard areas to get tags, but a lot of times the hardest areas to get tags are going to be your best chance for the biggest bulls. So you got to keep that in mind. You know, apply for drawings, look into access if you can. Now, I've done almost all of my hunting on public land. In fact, I believe there's only 4 of these bulls that were killed on private land, and they've all been self-guided hunts. Even the ones that were on private, I was not with an outfitter. And I have nothing against outfitters. I have some good friends that are outfitters, and I know that I probably would increase my success rate if I went with some of them. But as a general rule, I just really like to hunt on my own. So that's the way I've chosen to do it. But you know, accessing the areas where the kind of bulls you're after live is a big key. You're not going to kill a 340 bull in an area where the biggest bull is 300.
Yeah.
So you got to keep that in mind. For myself, I like to have a few over-the-counter options. Idaho for me is one that I always have a tag in Idaho. I haven't been hunting it that much the last few years, but it's a tag that you can get over the counter. Excuse me, for a lot of the areas anyway. Montana, as a resident here, you know, we can hunt a lot of Montana over the counter every year. And other states, Colorado, Oregon, you know, there's several states that offer really good over the counter hunts. So that's a good way to make sure you're always elk hunting, even if you don't draw a really good tag.
Mm-hmm. That's probably part of it, is just going out and doing it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, you know, the more time you spend at it, just like anything else, the more you'll figure out. And talk to people, you know, listen to people that are having good success, and you can learn a lot. I've learned a lot from other people, and then from just a lot of time. You know, years ago I spent a lot of time, and when I first got into the industry, I actually kind of made a commitment to myself that I wasn't going to let the business get in the way of my elk hunting time. And so far I've been able to stick with that. Everybody around here at Trophy Taker knows that come about August 15, whether they don't see me anymore for about 6 weeks. You've got to remember why you hunt, you know, and I just love the hunt. For me, I'm used to that schedule now. Every year I've been very fortunate to be able to take that much time off hunting every fall. And now it's just a normal thing. I look forward to it all year. I take my family with me for at least part of it, and we pack up the camp trailer and head to wherever the first hunt is for the year and set up camp and start scouting ahead of time. And during the summer, I try to take scouting trips as much as I can, you know, whether it's a long weekend or even 1 or 2 day trips, depending on how far away I'm scouting. But every year, once I figure out which units I'm going to be hunting in which states, then if it's areas I don't know, I try to concentrate any scouting time I have on those areas.
I want to thank Dan Evans and Trophy Taker for showing us around, getting a peek at his trophy room. And if you're in northwest Montana, northern Idaho, make the trip over to Plains, Montana and see Dan's trophy room for yourself. I'd also like to remind you to check out our website at shedhorn.com. For all of us at Shedhorn Sports, I'm Alan. Have a great day.